hope you're keeping well. I got a new oracle deck and I thought I would share a card pull with you. So as it approaches lunchtime here on Tuesday the 15th of June, I had decided to pull a few cards just for myself initially. I've spoken to a few people over the last few days who seem to be going through something similar that I've been feeling as well, so I'm thinking it must be a bit of a cosmic phenomenon in that it's quite difficult, particularly for maybe those of us who have been working in the therapy field or who have been serving other people or who have been constantly giving of ourselves to try and bring balance and healing to others. It's at this point now where quite a few of us are struggling to find our place again and trying to get back into the good habits that we maybe had before. And I know that personally for me, the last couple of weeks with the eclipses, the cosmic energy, everything that's been going on generally from a spiritual point of view and an energetic point of view has felt really quite busy and quite hectic, and as a result it's been really difficult to tune in and listen to inner guidance. It's been really hard to see the way forward. It's been quite difficult personally for me even just to visualize where it is that I want to go or what it is I really want, and I kind of feel like I'm being held back. Now that has lifted for me today. It's lifted just over the last sort of maybe 5 to 10 hours. I felt that start to shift away and new fresher energies coming through, which is lovely. But I thought I would use this opportunity. At the weekend I purchased a new tarot deck, well not tarot deck, an oracle deck called Wisdom of the Hidden Realms. So it's a 44 card deck and guidebook by Colette Baron-Reid, and it's got beautiful illustrations on it. It's essentially wisdom. It's an oracle deck sort of from the hidden realms, from the fairy folk, from the elementals, and I do have a real affinity with fairy energy and with that unseen world, the other world as it's sometimes referred to. So I was shuffling the cards and I was asking really for myself, where can I place the focus? Where can I place my focus? Help me see what it is I need to see. What do I need to understand right now? Really, because I've been finding it really quite difficult to get the clarity that I've been looking for. So it'd be interesting to hear if you've been suffering from the same sort of thing where you've been struggling to get clear on what it is you want or your direction, or if you felt really tired or you felt really sort of busy in the mind and unable to switch off and get into a zone. Let me know in the comments. But the cards that I pulled, which may speak to you as well, are as follows. So the first one that came up was the Altar Priestess. And the Altar Priestess, the words on it say preparation, prayer, and sacred ritual. And when I first pulled this card, I thought, oh, that's me getting told off for perhaps not being just as into my spiritual practice as I had been. I have to confess that my daily practice has been somewhat lacking in the last couple of weeks, in that I have struggled to find the time to sit in stillness, to be in meditation. So I thought initially when I turned this card, is that what it's saying? And because this is a new deck and I'm only getting used to it, I sat with the card for a moment or two and then turned to the guidebook to see if that was accurate. And yes, that's part of it, that preparation, prayer, sacred ritual, meditation, these things are important. But at the same time, to see life, all of life, as sacred. If you look through the eyes of divinity, you look through the eyes of your pure divine spirit and your own personal light, then nothing is wrong because everything is perfect. It's quite a big concept, but when you shift your reality and shift your perspective like that and start to look through the eyes of spirit and start to look through the eyes of the divine perfection, then there's nothing actually wrong with you or with anyone else. Everything is as it is. So the more I looked into this card, this Altar Priestess card, the more I looked into it, the more I realized, yes, there is a place for quiet contemplation and sacred ritual and your spiritual practice, your meditation practice, your exercise, whatever makes you feel good. But there's also then the fact that the whole of life is a meditation, the whole of life is sacred. Everything is already perfect, just as it is. And we are perfect in our divinity and our spiritual light that's within us. And, you know, every action that you take is an act of devotion and is sacred as well. And when you start to look through those eyes, then it does shift things, and it takes the pressure off a little bit as well. So I thought that was a lovely message that came from that card. The second card that jumped out then for me was the winged ones, the winged wise ones, which is all about angelic help and miraculous aid. And it's this concept of, you know, we are always connected, even though we sometimes feel disconnected, we feel that we've maybe lost our way or we've lost our connection. All we have to do is slow down and tune in and listen to the messages on the wind, listen to the whispered messages that come through into our intuition and into our inner world as divine thoughts or inspired thoughts. A sense of knowing that just comes from somewhere, that we know is correct. And this card reminds you that the angelic help and the miracles are all around us all day, every day. We just have to have the faith. We have to tune in to that frequency, you know, ask for the help and then look for the answer. Sometimes we ask for help and we forget to look for the answer. So, you know, we get so rigid in our expectation as to how things should be that we only look for the answer we think it should be, rather than being open to all the possibilities. So this card, this winged wise ones card, reminds you that the angelic help and the miraculous aid is available to us. We just have to ask for it, we just have to look for it, and then we have to expect to receive it. And that's the thing. And the last card that jumped out was the Rainbow Prince card, which is a lovely card as well. And this card's all about perseverance and compensation. This concept that, you know, yes, we are all persevering, we're having to work hard, we may feel a little bit tired and we may feel a little bit drained. Personally, for me, this is completely accurate. You know, I have, up until today, I had been feeling completely exhausted and burned out. Thankfully, that's lifted. But the perseverance, the need to persevere, to, you know, despite the rainstorms, despite the heaviness, despite things that might appear to be going wrong in life, you know, we can persevere through it. We have got this. We are pure divine spirit, just like the altar priestess card reminded us at the start. All of life is sacred. You know, when we see ourselves as the observer, you know, when you think about your thoughts and your inspired thoughts that come in, who is it that observes those? You know, who is, when you think I am, who is this I? Who is the observer? And the Rainbow Prince card asks you to remember that you are the divine expressing itself through you. So you are already perfect. You are already able to persevere. You have all the strength within you that you need, and that you will be compensated, because the very act of persevering and the hard work naturally brings about the compensation, the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, if you will. You know, and if you follow your bliss, if you follow your joy, if you follow those inspired thoughts, the guidance from the winged ones, you know, seeing all of life as sacred with the altar priestess, then you have your pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and your compensation will naturally follow, because it has to. So you need to be open to receiving it. And I think sometimes, again, we shut ourselves off from receiving because we think we have to constantly give. We think we have to constantly put ourselves out there, particularly anybody in the therapy world. Over these last 18 months, it has been a rough ride for a lot of therapists who have been there for all their clients and customers, doing their very best to keep them all going whilst perhaps neglecting themselves. So no matter which end of the spectrum you're in, it doesn't really matter. We're all the same. We've all been through a tough time. We're all still moving through this time. We're all having to still persevere, still having to get used to things, you know. And just with the cosmic energy, with the eclipses that have just come, you know, we're heading long into the solstice now, the longest days coming up on the 21st of June. you know, seasons are about to shift and change. Everything's always in flux, everything's always in motion, and sometimes it can feel quite overwhelming. So Altar Priestess reminds us, get in touch with your own divinity. Remember that all life's sacred. Every act, every action that you take, every thought that you have is an act of devotion and prayer, and is a sacred ritual. And when you start to see life that way, and start to see that everything you do is an act of devotion to your spiritual path, then your reality will shift accordingly, and you will start to hear the guidance and start to feel the miracles and see them come in that the winged ones promise us. Listen to the wind, the messages on the wind that then is translated into your mind by inspired thoughts as flashes of intuition, and trust that your perseverance will pay off and that you will be duly compensated for all the hard work you've been putting in. So I hope that this has spoken to you in some way. I know that it really spoke to me. I initially thought when I pulled the cards this morning that I would probably get a bit of a telling off from the other world for neglecting them and maybe not spending as much time with my spiritual practice as I should have. But far from it, I actually feel a real sense of love and compassion coming in, and a real heart opening. And I know that that part of that's to do with the cosmic energy that's going on today, that, you know, we're in this sort of period now after the eclipses where we have this opportunity to open our hearts and shift and change and move towards the bliss that we want and the life that we want and the reality that we want. So it's about constantly placing your focus on the things that you want rather than what you don't want. Being really grateful for what you have and recognizing that you are already the divine spirit within yourself. So you are already perfect. And all of life is an expression of that divinity and is therefore already perfect. And when we start to see the perfection and the beauty and the miraculous magic in all of nature and in all of life, then we don't see all the problems and all the hassles. And the more we focus on the positives, the more we can raise that light and that awareness in the world. So hopefully this has helped. Let me know in the comments how you are. I am aware that I have potentially neglected you a little bit on social media. I promise I will try a little harder. However, I am going to put myself first for a little while too and practice what I preach. Therapists are notoriously rubbish at taking their own advice, and I've had this conversation twice already today, so I'm taking that as a whispered message on the wind from the winged wise ones, that it's time to practice what I preach and to take some time for me for self-care. So I'm in the process of booking myself Reiki session with my Reiki master. I am in the process of making sure I have time in my diary that is just for me to create, to paint, to read, to meditate, to walk, and that I'm just going to slow my crazy busyness down a little. There's still lots in the diary for you. There's still loads of things still going on. They're all prepped, they're all set up, they're all ready to go. So from my point of view, the hard work, the perseverance has been done for now, and it's time for me just to unwind a little. So I'm still here. Please do chat, talk to me, message me, let me know what's going on for you. And if you're interested in any of the events that are coming up, you can have a look on the page. You'll see some of the dates are there. First aid training, Reiki master training, various bits and pieces going on. I will be releasing my autumn-winter schedule later, but not just yet because it's only June and I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself. But the summer dates have been released for the Reiki classes and for other bits and pieces, particularly the first aid training. And those classes are all starting to fill up. But again, listen to your own guidance, listen to the divinity within yourself, and listen to the whispers on the wind. Because the messages from the winged ones and from the other world is always there and always available to us. And you're always connected, you're always safe, and you're always loved. So I hope that's spoken to you, and I'll chat to you all again soon. Bye.